Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Daryl Talks podcast. Today, I am so excited. I've got somebody who, when I first thought about doing podcasting, I had a list of about 20 people, and he was one of the first on it because he's so interesting. We've got David Deutsch. I went all the way through school with him. Haven't really spoken since, so I'm so looking forward to catching up. So without further ado, welcome, Dave.
Hey, mate. Hi. Nice to chat to you.
Yes,
I'm great.
so
Yeah,
good. And I'm like buzzing. I'm almost like shell shocked because I've been wanting to speak to you, like I said, for over a year now. But one person is going to be even more excited, and that is my mum.
Your lovely mum.
My mum asks after you, have you heard from him? Almost on a weekly basis. And I'm like, no, I'm sorry, mum. Sorry, I haven't heard from him this week. I almost started making it up. Like, yeah, he's doing great. But thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Pleasure.
You sound super busy.
Yeah, but I mean, they're busier than anybody else. It's just a different kind of busy. But yeah, I feel very lucky to be busy.
Yeah. So why do you think I've got you on? What do you think I want to talk about?
Well, as I said to you before, you can ask me anything, but I assume that it's probably to sort of go take a little trip down memory lane and like discuss and unpick some of the memories that we share from time when we were at school, but also what we've been up to since. And unless I'm in trouble and you want to talk to me about something else.
What I would like to ask is, what do you do now?
Good question. I don't really know myself.
Put it in layman's terms because I'm a layman.
Okay. I'm a musician. That's not really changed. But up until sort of 3 years ago, I held a full-time post as a musician, pianist, sort of vocal coach within an opera house, a Welsh National Opera in Cardiff, which I was there for like 10 years. And then in the last 3 years, alongside other things, but became a freelancer. So I became fully self-employed as opposed to having a full-time job and doing other things alongside it. I decided to leave that so that I was able to take on more things, basically. And so I became sort of fully freelance back in 2022. And I'm a jobbing musician, a jobbing pianist, but I'm kind of here, there, and everywhere, working kind of between opera and music theatre and doing kind of lots of concerts and session work. And yeah, so I mean, in the most simplest form, I would say I'm a freelance musician. That's basically what I am.
But you do vocal coaching as well, don't you?
Yeah. So that's something that I got into whilst I was studying. I mean, I was never somebody that I always liked the idea of singing, but it's not so much about being a good singer myself. It's just being able to bring out the best in singers. And in order to be able to do that, you have to be able to obviously sing, but you have to be able to demonstrate. You have to be able to, if you're going to suggest a change or something that they can do to improve, you're looking to, I feel personally, you have to be able to demonstrate it. You have to be able to show what you want from them, or trying to encourage the best out of them by saying, listen, you're singing, for me, you sound like this, or this is how you're singing this particular phrase or something. And this is how I think it should go. Try this, getting them to work in this most sort of safe and healthy way so that they can have longer careers, longevity, economy, that kind of thing.
Is that based predominantly opera?
Yes, but I have worked with music theatre singers as well. Obviously, there's a very different school of singing. They're completely different technique, different sort of styles, if you like. So mostly opera, mostly classical voice, yeah, because that's kind of been my background, So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
So who's the most famous person you've met?
I don't know. Who's the most famous person that I've met? It's really difficult. I would say probably the King. That's probably
King?
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's now
quite a lot of people have heard of him.
Yeah, quite a few before he became king, and also after. I used to do these concerts. So he used to have a place in West Wales, which he sort of was like a kind of country house, and I used to do concerts and stuff there for him and Camilla. Yeah, and it was, and then last year, but not just there. I've done a few gigs. I did, one at Buckingham Palace. I also did one at St. Paul's Cathedral last Christmas or the Christmas before, which was for a charity that she was patron of.
So do you get to call him Charlie? C-Bob?
I don't know him on a personal level, but I've met him several times. Yeah. And also, like, when I was doing my masters, he sponsored, it was the Prince of Wales scholarship, because he was then the Prince of Wales, and I given money which he sponsored, basically.
No, that's amazing. So name some more, because did I hear a rumor that you worked with the Go Compare guy?
Yeah, when I did.
Because to me, I think I'd be more starstruck with him than if I met Charlie Bob.
Yeah, I haven't seen him for a long time, but I did a couple of concerts with him.
Because he's actually really good, isn't he? He's like a proper professional, serious guy.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he started his career out in opera as well. And I mean, I never worked with him whilst I was at Welsh National, but I worked with him on a couple of concerts and stuff since. Yeah, but I haven't spoken to him in a long time. But yeah, I have worked with him.
No way.
And he was doing Strictly. I saw he was doing Strictly Come Dancing, I think.
Was he?
Yeah, recently. I think it was just in it. Yeah, but I haven't watched it, but I saw that he was on it.
So is there any other famous people that you can think of?
Yeah, there's loads that you sort of meet in different situations. I've met Joanna Lumley like a few times, because I worked with her husband, because her husband's a conductor. Judge Rinder was like here at Glyndebourne, and so I met him once. There's lots of British celebrities, definitely.
But have there been any dicks, or have you had any like awkward experiences?
I'm trying to think. Not with actually the one, and it wasn't so much awkward. It was just that I refused to meet him. So before he became Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, I did a concert that he turned up late for at the Guildhall in London, and there was like he just he rode over and was late, and there was all this, and then at the end there was like, oh, do you want to meet Boris Johnson? I was like, no. Incredible. So it wasn't awkward, but it was just kind of like, I was like, well, he turned up late. I'm not waiting around for him. I'm going to go home. So it was just
stand by your principles.
Well, it was just because I think by the time I think it had been a really long day. We'd just done this concert, and if we'd actually done the lineup and actually said hello to him at the end, we'd have been there until like midnight or something, and we all had to get back. And so I was like, I'm not hanging around for that. So it wasn't like awkward. It just, and he wouldn't have known any different, but I just thought, nah.
Oh, he did. You know what? He's hardly slept since.
No, exactly.
He really wanted to meet you, Dave.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So let's go back to the beginning, because I know, like, from day one of meeting you, year 7, so we would have been 11, and I'm in Mrs. Heighton's room, and it's like I've got boxing gloves, and I'm hitting down at a keyboard trying to learn Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. And this is painting a picture for the listeners. David walks in up to the teacher's piano, and he was like Elton John on there, right? That was day one. Throughout those years, you got better and better and better. So did you turn up to school already like a really high level piano?
No. I started basically just before we started school. So it was kind of in that kind of gap between finishing primary school and starting secondary school was when I started to play, I guess, started to learn, So no, I didn't, but I just, it was just from then. I had no kind of, I don't think I'd started lessons even at that point. I think maybe I can't remember, if I'm honest, but in between that gap and starting school was when I started to learn. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I went into school and I was pretty decent at football. I guess it's like a similar thing, but you were the only one that could do it. So that's what made it so interesting.
Yeah, I think, but also, I mean, I didn't come from a musical family. I don't as in my family appreciate music massively, but music was not really something that kind of ran through our family. Do you know what I mean? It's not like there are so many kids that learn instruments and stuff whose like mum plays something or dad played guitar or something like that. But I didn't have that. And somehow I don't even know where it came from or why it happened. I just remember really wanting to learn. And when I started, I was obsessed with it, you know, and it was almost like a need. I just had to learn. I just had to get better. And I suppose it's no different to people like you, like loving football or sports or any kind of passion. It's something that you just kind of need to do. You just enjoy it so much that you just need to do it. It just so happened that mine was music, you know?
Yeah. And it's interesting because like I couldn't wait to go out and play football at break time. Couldn't wait to go out and play at lunchtime, rugby or whatever. It's hard to imagine that in music. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Completely. And I think it was probably quite confusing for a lot of people at school as well. But as an adult, it's so much easier to understand that passion and to translate into other hobbies.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because the thing is that obviously since leaving school, so much of my life has been, you know, thinking back to school. You know, when you play football, you play rugby, you're playing with other people, you're interacting all the time. But the thing is there weren't as many like-minded people as me at school at the time that we were there. I'm not trying to say that there weren't people that were interested in music. Of course there were. And we did have these little collaborations. You know, some of the people that I sort of became friends with at school were people that sort of played in the school band or, you know, or like Treat, for example, you know,
was
a drummer
that came to mind actually.
Yeah, exactly. And we, you know, we remained friends throughout school, but it was quite an isolating, and also because I was still learning, I was still kind of trying to get better. I was still practicing. It was very individual. It was very personal to me. But I do remember being aware at school that I probably didn't kind of put enough stock into some of the friendships that I had at school because my thing was so separate to everybody else. It just wasn't, I didn't do the sporty thing. I didn't, you know, so.
And also it's quite, they say it's quite lonely at the top. So what I mean is you didn't have anybody other than like people like Miss Heighton, who is better than you to look up to. Whereas there's always, in rugby, there's always somebody bigger, uglier, got bigger muscles, faster, all those sorts of things.
Oh.
You didn't have that at school. Do you know what I mean? So like that. Yeah, that it must have been tough. You just didn't seem to care. It was brilliant.
No, that's the thing. Is like if I look back, it's kind of like with, like you said, with adult eyes and adult experience. You look back and you sort of think, oh, it's a little bit sad that actually. But the thing is, at the time, I didn't feel like it was a sad thing. I wasn't sad. I was actually I was a really happy kid. And, you know, and I sort of look back at my school years with fondness because even the people that I did have, you know, friendships with at school were always sort of lovely at school, you know? So the fact that I sort of did my own thing never sort of deterred people. You know, I don't think people sort of were like, oh, well, I won't bother with him then. Like, no one sort of treated me like that, you know? And I think, you know, and kids, you know, kids can be horrible, you know, but I didn't really kind of have so much of that.
I don't remember you getting that as much. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I mean, I know.
But then I think because
no. Just initially, I think initially there were, you know, like I think all kids, you sort of, you're trying to understand your own social status, you're figuring it out, aren't you? And you're ever developing, and hormones are kind of going crazy at that age, and you're trying to sort of figure yourself out, and everybody's doing the same all at the same time, and it's just like a big melting pot of craziness. And you know, and so, you know, people can be nasty and people say things and whatever, and you know, I'm not that I really remember any of that, but I do feel sort of fortunate that I wasn't ever really on the receiving end of that. Not that I can remember, you know.
You see, I mean, you read, you see all these stories. So, but I do think part of that was you were very social. You know, like some people, like, you know, like this, like really clever people, their ignorance can be confused with their intelligence, if that makes sense. With your music ability, that there was no ignorance or arrogance that came with that. And I think that's what probably could have made a big difference to that. Does that make sense? Because you were very social.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, well, I think that's the thing, is that I wasn't socially awkward. I don't think. I think that's why I was able. And when I look back, I used to be able. When I think about, say, like the cool kids or the not so cool kids or the ones in between, I actually feel like I sort of dipped in and out of all of those pockets somehow. Like, and throughout my time, there were, like, I think by the time I got to we got to A levels, like some of the people that were my friends were sort of some of the guys that were considered the cool kids.
Yeah, of course.
And actually, so I don't know. It's sort of, and I've always been that sort of person that is kind of loves a laugh, loves a joke, always happy to kind of be silly, and also happy to be the brunt of a joke as well.
Yeah.
It's fine. So I think I've always kind of managed with humor. I've never also really taken myself so seriously to the point of it being like he's a dick.
Yeah.
I've always remained or tried to remain grounded, but I think a lot of that is down to my upbringing, my family. It's never.
Yeah, because you're massive with your family, aren't you? You always have been.
Yeah.
I remember. If your mum sees me in the street, she always says hello.
Yeah.
Your brother at one point was helping me trying to get in touch with you because he said that you had Instagram, and so I added this random David Deutsch. I never even comprehended that you would be called Dave.
Yeah, I know.
You will die, David, to me.
Yeah, it's not, like I said, it's not like a recent change or anything. It's just that I think at school and from patches and pockets of kind of people that know me, I've either called me David or called me Dave. And the thing is that I've always grown up within my family as being Dave or Davey or something. So David is not like, it's not that's my name, but I'm not precious about it at all. But I think it's just slightly weird for me sometimes as I hear it as an adult, especially because after having left school, nobody called me David, like leaving school. When I met people that I went to uni with, I was always Dave or Doiji or something like that. And so I think like David feels like a sort of almost like I'm in trouble or like, but only in a very, very minor kind of way. It's not.
No, of course.
Yeah, it's fine. Loads of people call me David. It's fine. I'm not precious about things like that.
How much was Miss Heighton an impact on your teenage years? Because you were thick as thieves with her, it seemed.
Oh, she was monumental. She was monumental in those years. Definitely. I mean, I spoke about her on another podcast, not that long ago actually, because she, if it wasn't for her, well, I don't know who can say what would or could have happened, but she was kind of like the oracle, for want of a better word. She kept me on the path. She kept me on the straight and narrow. She knew she was really kind of, she was tough on me when she needed to be. She was kind of like my musical mum. She was so good with my mum as well. And in terms of kind of monitoring progress, and she was like everything a teacher should be and more.
That's amazing.
If you think about what you would want as an adult, well, think about, you've got 2 kids. Imagine what you would want from a teacher for your kids is everything that I had in her, from her. And even to this day, I still speak to her. We're still in touch. I met up with her not all that long ago. She's a real, she did more for me than she'll ever know, and it's one of the, I sort of feel, I get quite choked up talking about her because I don't think obviously as a kid, you don't appreciate those things as you're growing up. It's almost like these people are just there kind of doing their thing, but it's when you look back, it's when you think back, and that's where, she really, really, I mean, she changed my life. She introduced me to a whole world of things I didn't even know existed. And at a time where I thought that I was going to not do it and walk away from it because I'd sort of been encouraged to by another piano teacher, she was the one that stepped in and said, can we swear on this podcast?
We absolutely can. I encourage it.
Okay. basically fuck that. And, you need to do this and you need to audition and you've got to get your shit together, basically.
No way.
And I did. And then that was kind of from there that I ended up going off and doing it, because I could have been doing something else, languages or something. I don't know.
So to put in perspective to anybody who doesn't know who Miss Heighton is, my most favourite word that she ever said was glockenspiel. So she was a Scottish teacher, just in case. And from my previous episode, I'm working on my accents. So I've been working on some of my accents. And actually, maybe later on, you can give me some vocal tips, just in case they ask me to sing, seeing as you're the professional. But Miss Heighton was our music teacher, and she was Scottish. She was lovely. She was stern at times, but only if you kind of deserved it, really. So for you to say such nice things about her, I think it's lovely. Anyway, let's move on. So throughout sixth form, you were like the go-to like pianist for basically everything.
Yeah.
That must, like, not just like all the extra school, like extracurricular stuff you were there for, any sort of dramatics, you were there for the musical side. Did you ever get bored?
No, back then, no, I don't think I did. I loved it. Because it was my first it was like my first early experiences of performing, in front of people. So all that kind of lonely practice, isolated individual stuff started to become interaction with people. And when I think back then, when you're starting out, you become hungry for it. And when people obviously say nice things and they enjoy it and whatever, that enjoyment kind of translates into, oh, well, this, must be a good thing. They must be I'll do more,
So did you, at that age, have like a plan? Did you always know that you were going to go on to do half the stuff you've done?
No,
God, no. Did you think like,
No.
right, I'm going to go to uni? Because you were like a legend at uni as well for music as well, weren't you?
Well, I guess you'd have to ask the people that were there beneath you. But no, I had no plan. I've never had a plan. I just it all just, like it does in life. I think it just all slots into place. Some people do obviously have a plan and they go for it, and that's their thing. But no, God, I didn't even know half of what was out there. Beyond the borders of Saltash, I didn't know anything.
It's amazing because you didn't come across like that. Like,
really, that's really interesting.
You just came across as like, I'm going to be this. Because at one point you started playing the flute, didn't you? Or was it the?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I learned. Yeah, well, sort of. I can't remember when I started that. Yeah, and I sort of did all my exams on that and stuff. And then I took that when I went off to music school. After that, I had it as like a second study for about a year or two, and then I dropped it because it was just impossible to do two things at the same time. It was just too much. So I stopped, and then I never played again. Actually, I've still got it, but I played for a joke one drunken evening with some friends, and it was sort of came back. But no, I mean, I never really. I loved it, but I never really took it sort of enough to be able to do something with it. But because also, piano was kind of the main focus, really.
But like, do you ever like sit and just play like, I don't know, Twinkle Twinkle or something? Like, because the level that you obviously build up to, is there like a hardest thing to play on the piano?
Yeah, of course.
Or is it down to perspective?
I think yes. I think it's that. It's that are beyond me. I mean, like really beyond me. And I'm not saying that to be sort of modest. I mean,
no,
like really, there really are. There are things that are far great. And the thing is also those kind of challenges, those things that for the piano would sort of appear within the realm of what it would mean to be like a solo pianist, that plays concerts, kind of just solo kind of repertoire. And the thing is, because it wasn't collaborative enough for me, it's boring sitting in a practice room learning all of this stuff, and to play it in a concert once and then you leave it and you go on to the next thing. And I think you have to sort of really enjoy practicing for yourself. And I've never really enjoyed practicing for myself. I've always loved practicing for other people, to do something with other people, which is kind of why I ended up going down the route that I did, was because it meant that I could collaborate. So I never had any plan. All I knew is that I liked music and I loved playing the piano. And somehow the things that ended up sort of finding me found me through no choice of my own. You know, I fell into it basically.
And so you went on to music school.
Yeah.
Where was that?
So that was in Cardiff. So I auditioned for a few. So they're called conservatoires. So for specialist kind of music institutions, they're called conservatoires. And this one was the Royal Welsh College of Music and Drama in Cardiff. I went there. I just loved it there. It was one of those, you just got a good feeling about it, a good vibe. And I was like, right, I'll go there. And so I studied there for 6 years. So I did a 4 years.
Was there a reason you chose there?
Do you know? Yeah, there was actually. And I remember exactly what it was. Is that I auditioned at the London colleges as well. I had offers, but I found them all very unfriendly. I found them sort of unfriendly, kind of cold. I just, we're from Saltash. London for me at that age was completely like that's not me. I wasn't ready for that. Whereas because obviously with my dad being Welsh and we had family and stuff, Cardiff was somewhat familiar, but it felt like there was a nice vibe. But more importantly, it was the lady that worked on the reception desk. I never forget walking in for my audition, and she was the kindest, loveliest lady who sort of was there also throughout my time when I just thought, I just knew in that moment, I just thought, if I've got a place there, that's it, I'm going there. That's great. Definitely. Nia, she was called. She was lovely. Nia.
And is going to a conservatoire similar to like going to say Cardiff Uni, in that you have like a freshers? Like did you
all of that, everything
live like
everything
students?
Yeah.
No way.
Of course, it's exactly like that. Yeah, it's the only difference with a so it's like it would be like going to, it's the equivalent of going to medical school or going to, it's just it's a specialism. So like the same medical students would interact with medical students, same music students interact with music. We obviously it was music and drama, so there were actors, designers, all kinds of things related
so it wasn't like
that
the
aspect.
You had somebody on the triangle like giving it beans.
No, it was like you're just students. And the thing is, the difference is that it wasn't. Although it was academic as well. The main focus of a conservatoire is to train you to become performers, to be working musicians, to be where like, for example, say a university course would be more like, say 70-30 in terms of like percentage for, so 70 academic, 30% performance based. It would be the opposite for a conservatoire, it's mostly focused on performance. But we have freshers, had the same things any uni student would have.
No way. I don't know. I just imagine you all sat around in your smoking jackets, drinking posh brandy and...
No. My God, no. Completely opposite. It was like rough, and like we all would go out and get absolutely like trashed. Thing about it is that it was like fine. I sort of found my people, because basically there were all the kind of people that were like, there were people from similar backgrounds to me. There were people from more privileged backgrounds than me. There were, all kinds of people there, but we just shared this one thing in common, is that we all were musicians. We were all,
that's
cool.
Yeah. Did you do any, what are those people called that just play piano in the background of places?
Like cocktail piano or something?
Yeah.
Maybe like, so occasionally you get like a little gig where you could go and do a bit of background music or do like a wedding. And like whilst I was a student, I used to do a few of those just to earn a bit of extra cash,
Nice.
I also got to do a couple of cruises, which was fun, whilst I was still a student. I don't know how they let me off to do it, but they did, because it was the way of making money, like just whilst
incredible.
And that was the good, just whilst you were studying, because it meant then I didn't have to, paid appallingly, but sort of paid well enough that you'd be like, right, let's go out then. So, I'd go and play, I don't know, for like a couple of hours somewhere, and then you get like back then like 50 quid, and then you'd be like, right, drinks on me, and you just go out and just blow it. That would basically be it, and then repeat.
And Cardiff's a wonderful nightlife, isn't it?
Yes, it was amazing. I had a great time there.
There's something for everyone there, I feel.
It's like lovely city.
been there on stag do's. My stag do was on there. I've been there just
Was
for
it?
general
Wow.
nights out,
Yeah.
and I can see why people are drawn to Cardiff because it almost has a local town feel in a city.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the way I would describe it anyway.
It's an amazing place. And also I think that it's a very friendly city, you know, and I think that has a lot of a draw to it too. Yeah. It's very welcoming.
What came from uni then?
A path that I found myself on, which was not something I knew existed or knew that I would be interested in, was basically that because I was working with a lot of singers in particular whilst I was studying, I found this love for opera, which is really weird because that's not something I didn't know anything about it. It wasn't, I just imagined the same things that everybody else did. Pavarotti, fat person at the front of the stage, breaking glass. It was all that, the same kind of stereotype that I thought. But basically, I didn't realize that there was a job because at school, because I think we did French together, didn't we, at A-level?
We did, yeah.
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 And I love languages, and I always had loved languages, but I didn't realize that there was kind of a job where you could sort of involve languages, music, all that kind of stuff, which was basically the one that I found myself doing. So after I left uni, I went and joined the Welsh National Opera. So I was there for like 10 years. I was there, but I had a full-time job with them as a coach and a pianist and kind of conductor, worked with the chorus, the orchestra, whatever. It's a full-time opera company. And then I was freelancing whilst having that job. So I was able to go off and do things, either come off contract or I would fit it in around the top concerts here, there and everywhere. Got to go abroad a lot, got to sort of work with all kinds of different people in all different kinds of places. And yeah, so lots came from it. So that was kind of like my job, if you like. I had that job, but I was still kind of very much here, there and everywhere doing all kinds of things.
What was your decision on that then? Was it just to allow you a bit more freedom to do?
Yeah, it was many things. Well, it was a few things actually. I think I'd gotten to the point where I was ready to leave. I think I felt like I'd done my time, and I felt like I needed to move on. And I just thought I thought I was still kind of young enough to be able to embrace the freelance life and the travel and the kind of the variety. I think that's the word really. It was variety. I was looking for a bit, just being able to turn my hand to a few different things. You know, I also always loved doing music theatre and stuff like that. And I was never able to say yes to certain things because I was bound by a job. I wasn't allowed to go off and do as much as I wanted to. So I could only do a little bit of, you know, playing for some musicals and things. Whereas now I get to do that a little bit more. It was also being able to work at lots of different opera houses, to go away, to work abroad, it was all, loads of things. And also because the guy that I was seeing as well lived in London, and we wanted to kind of make a go of it. And because we had this long distance relationship, commuting from Wales to London, it just kind of became, there came a point where we sort of went, should we make it? There were all kinds of things that were, I think it was, variety.
Yeah, of course. So that's one thing I was going to come on to actually, was relationships. So how long have you been gay?
God, who knows? I don't know the answer to that question, because I don't think it's a sort of, it was never a kind of black and white thing. It wasn't a kind of this is or what wasn't. I think the thing is that I think it's really easy, and I don't think it was never a secret, but it was that thing of people would have presumed, or people would have suspected, or people, myself included. But if I think back to sort of school days, and when you're kind of, when you're coming into yourself and you're figuring yourself out and what you are and who you are and whatever, none of that was really on my radar, in that I never kind of went through that thing of kind of really fancying anybody or finding myself really attracted to people. I think I probably said, I said that I did, probably just to fit in, but I didn't really kind of have that sense of being attracted or finding. It was never, it was never at the forefront of my desires. Do you know what I mean?
No,
like kids, how kids kind of like everything, like it's that classic kind of thing when boys start realizing that they're starting to turn into men. They want to shag everything that, has a pulse, and that kind of, I just never had that. And that it happened for me later. So, with intimate with a few girls, and I just realized that it just wasn't. And then when I had my first experience with a guy, it sort of was like, okay, yeah, this feels right, you know. And that was kind of it. And yeah, luckily I was.
Sorry.
No, tell me, what were you going to say?
So I've spoken to a couple of people now about their sort of realization, and people's like opinions on how they think, how you would imagine it to happen. Like you wake up one day and just like, oh my God, dick.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's so anticlimactic and not like in the films, but it makes so much more sense when you think about it in a logical, sort of illogical way. Is that not everything is linear, is it? You know,
no, and it's not clean cut either. And it's that thing of also, you know, what's really interesting to me is like I've learned so much about that and people's experiences sort of as an adult that I sort of think if I'd known that when I was a bit younger, I wouldn't have been so kind of end of it all, in that just like people don't just wake up and decide, right, I'm straight. People don't just wake up and decide that it's just, it just kind of happens. It's not a choice. It's just what feels good. And the thing is also what we also have come to learn and talk about more nowadays is that actually it's not clean. It's not you are straight or you are gay. People go from one to the other. People experiment with both sexes. I know somebody who is married with a wife and children and very, very happy, great relationship. But, you know, they both have explored with, you know, the opposite sex. Oh, sorry, the same sex, I should say.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But they found each other. They found love within the person and they settled down. And I think that's just a nicer way of looking at it, you know?
I just think, I've learned so much from asking questions and being a little bit blunt about it, because I don't see the point. I may as well ask my question of what I'm thinking and gauge a reaction, if that makes sense, rather than, but I've just learned that it's so not like like in the films, like most things are. It's not like in the films, and it's really nice that you just, it just happened. You know, that's just,
it did, and that's it. Like that's not to dumb it down. It's not a big deal. And that's the thing is, I think that a lot of people's kind of shame and problems come with the fact that people expect or want it to be a big deal, and it's just not. It's not, or certainly it wasn't for me. You know, and I don't want to take away anybody else's kind of course moment or whatever. Or who cares? Like, you know, it's just absolutely not. It's actually kind of one of the less interesting things about me. Do you know what I mean?
That is so true. That is so true. It really isn't remotely as interesting as your career and your thing. So thank you. I do appreciate that. And
not at all.
For you to acknowledge it is much better. So is it what's he called? Anto?
Anto, yeah. So he's Italian. Antonello is his full name, but yeah, Anto, yeah.
So where did he come into the sort of picture?
Well, we got together it'll be 4 years this year. We've been together, and yeah, it just works. It's just a really great situation. We're both like, you know, like any good relation, we just get on. Like, we're just friends. I think when we got together, I just realized that just everything was so easy. Like the daily life was easy. You know, there was didn't feel like I had to explain myself. Didn't feel like I had to be anybody other than myself. Didn't feel like I had to, you know, I'm not like, you know, I work away so much. There are times where we don't get to speak to each other during the day or whatever. And, you know, and he just knows that it's because I'm busy or he's busy or whatever. It's just, there's no kind of text being like, where are you? Why haven't you called me? There's, you know, like, which, you know, and if that's how people like to operate and be, that's fine. I guess he was the first kind of person that I really like. I introduced people, introduced him to and stuff. Really, and yeah, and people, a lot of people. It's really funny. The thing that's been not puzzling me, but people have said a lot is like, "Oh, so is this the one? Is this the one?" Is like, and I've got like a real problem with that because I just think like when I said to him, like, I'm like, well, he's the one for now. But who knows what can happen in the future? Do you know what I mean? It's like, how do you know that's, I hate that, like the pressure that sort of, not society, but I guess it is society. It's this thing that we just do like, oh, is this the love of your life? Is this the person that you're going to be with forever? How the hell do I know? Who knows that? Nobody knows that.
Do you live in a future? Do you have future plans?
I mean, like anybody does, you sort of think, oh, I'd love to do that one day or that would be really fun, or that's something that I'd maybe like to explore. But I am a great believer of living for now, living for the moment, because we don't know about tomorrow, And I know that sounds really kind of philosophical and really kind of woo-woo and a bit kind of hippie, but it's true. Like we like it's fact. Like we don't know anything beyond this moment right now, this moment that we're talking. I don't know anything about tomorrow other than what I'm supposed to be doing, And I just think like there's nothing wrong with wanting to achieve things and having future plans that you would like to aspire to. Absolutely, of course. Like that's what keeps us going, isn't it? That we sort of, but I've never been like, I want to have done that by that age, or I want to have owned this house at this time, or I want to live there by the time I'm 40 or something. Never had that. And maybe I should, but it's never been for me. I would rather sort of be in the moment and be here and present in this time, what's ahead of me.
Yeah. And I always think reaching those milestones and those goals always end up being anticlimactic as well.
You can put pressure on them, can't you? Yeah.
Exactly. And when you get there, what do you do then? When you get there, what do you do then? You're more likely to end up finding yourself lost at those moments.
Yeah. Or causing yourself a lot of unnecessary stress or worry about getting there. And then when you finally get there, like you said, it's a bit like anticlimactic. You're a bit like, well, that was not really worth it. Or,
Yeah, it's so odd. So where are you literally now?
I'm currently in East Sussex working at an opera house called Glyndebourne. It's a kind of festival opera company that sort of is in the English countryside. Very beautiful. Basically working on one of the pieces that they're doing in the season at the moment. So I'm currently working and staying here at the moment, but sort of going back to London at weekends because it's only an hour on the train or so. So it's nice to be able to go back home as well and have a bit of downtime where the schedule allows, but it's quite busy at the moment. But but fun though. So
amazing. Well, David, thank you so much. I said I'd call you Dave. Well, Dave.
You call me whatever you want.
Thank you so much for taking the time out. I cannot stress this enough. It's so lovely to see you.
It's lovely to see you. Thanks for asking me. It's a really lovely thing. When I got your message, I just thought it was really nice to sort of touch back and touch base and sort of go down memory lane.
So there we have it, everyone. David Deutsch. What a legend. I really hope you enjoyed this episode. So for now, cheers.